What's up, everyone? The nominations have been revealed and there is a backdoor plan in place. The target does not have a clue. It's them. We're in for one hell of a week of Big Brother, guys. So welcome to your live feed update. Alright folks, let's jump right into who Derek X nominated as his nominees this week. That's usually what happens when you nominate someone, they turn into nominees. So yes folks, the nominees are Brittany and Sarah Beth. I'd love to hear everybody else's thoughts in the comment section below. I feel like there's going to be some mixed thoughts on Sarah Beth being on the block. Obviously, Brittany's been on the block before, so that should come as no surprise to people that she's being used as a pawn there. But obviously, we have two pawns this time around for a backdooring of Christian in place, which we will get to shortly. But folks, I'd love to hear everyone's initial thoughts so far on the plan, with Christian being the target and the two nominees as the pawns, Sarah Beth and Brittany. Now, there was some interesting deals struck by the Jokers during the one-on-ones before the head of household decided to do the nomination. So, obviously, everybody went up one by one to have a one-on-one with Derek. And Big D pitched to Derek X and said that he would never, ever vote to evict Derek X if he didn't put him on the block. I get it. I get it. He's probably feeling threatened. But, I mean, that almost has to be broken. Because by that logic, Big D would either have to work an incredible social game to control everybody else's votes to take him out whilst honouring that deal, or Big D would literally have to take Derek X to the final two, and I think Derek X would win hands down against Big D. It's going to take a lot of doing if he did that, and obviously he didn't end up on the block, so Big D obviously has to stick to that now, and with Derek X automatically making it to the jury stage, if he does end up on the jury, he's going to remember that if Big D makes it to the final two, and he'll remember that he didn't stick to it if he does that, so that's an interesting one, but you never know, Big D might stick to it. A more reasonable deal was struck with Arza, with both of them saying to each other that they won't go for each other for 2 weeks, and they won't vote for each other for 2 weeks. It kind of feels interesting phrasing the 2 weeks thing, because that's a very short amount of time in the Big Brother house, 2 weeks. So, well, it can be short, it can be long, but in regards to longevity in the game, it's sort of funny how they didn't maybe say 3 or 4 weeks to try and make themselves feel more comfortable with each other. It was kind of just 2, which makes you think, is Arza going to put Derek X up on the block if she gets into power soon? And maybe Derek X is thinking of putting Arza up on the block later down the line. But all we know right now is they gave each other 2 weeks of safety in replacement for Arza not going on the block this week. Straight after the nomination ceremony, Derek X was extremely emotional, and in a turn of events, we saw Brittany comforting Derek X, telling him to breathe, it's all going to be okay, you've done the hardest bit of your head of household reign right now. So Derek X, I don't know if it was, maybe he was working to make Brittany feel sorry for him, or make the house feel sorry for him. I don't think it was emotional manipulation. I do think it was genuinely a case of Derek X feeling the flack, because obviously he's having to turn on the royal flush this week, or not necessarily having to, he's making the decision to, and as a fan I salute him for that. I take my hat off that I don't have on to him. I just find it really, I respect somebody who's playing the game, because if anybody in Grateful got in power or something like that, or the 6 shooters in Big Brother 21, nobody ever really turns on each other. It was kind of just, we have to stay with this group, when there was literally the likes of Jack and Mickey in that group who could have done serious damage and did do serious damage on that game. So, I think Derek X, I respect him for actually saying, nope, that's not going to happen. Christian can do damage, so guess what? I'm going to try and get Christian out. Sarah Beth went to speak to Derek X, and there was kind of a silence for a while. She didn't know what was going on. Then Derek X basically just went, I can't do this. I'm going to have to tell you what's going on. And he told her straight up she is not the target. And obviously, he then went on to give her the spiel about the whole Christian plan as the back door. So, this is where it gets interesting. Christian has already told Sarah Beth that if he gets picked for the veto and wins it, he is going to use it on Sarah Beth. Christian needs to stop winning comps. He's getting a bigger and bigger target on his back. Obviously, this week he kind of needs it, but the fact he doesn't realise he's being backdoored and still wants to win comps, it's kind of like not much strategic awareness of his game. It's just comp, physical side of the game that he's kind of dominating, and you need a bit of everything, I guess, in Big Brother, or a bit more of just one load on one. That sounded weird. One load of, or just you can't just have a really strong physical game and have nothing going on the other ones, because people will pick up on that at the end and go, apart from winning comps, what did you actually do? But again, the comp thing does make somebody a target. But he'd said he would use the veto on Sarah Beth if he was to win it. But then Derek X was telling Sarah Beth that you need to pick Kyland if you get house guest choice, because he can, he knows the plan basically. And then if Christian was to win the veto and was threatening to use it on Sarah Beth, Derek X would then threaten that if you take Sarah Beth off the block, I'm going to put Alyssa up on the block. It's marvellous. It's really, really genius, I guess. And because, listen, Christian, like many people have said this week, he's kind of a puppy dog who kind of just sits there and listens to what people have to say. And if his girl Alyssa is going to be threatened, then he's not playing. Listen, Christian is not playing for himself. He's playing for Alyssa right now as well. Alyssa was practically the head of household last week. He will not use the veto in order for Alyssa to not go up on the block. So I guess that's going to work out. And listen, Derek X even promised Alyssa in the wall comp that he wouldn't nominate her this week if she jumped off. So I'm just loving seeing people get their hands dirty and really, really playing the game. Alyssa, Christian and Xavier went to speak with Derek X in the head of household room. They do not have a clue what the plan is this week. He basically convinced them that Brittany is the target this week. It's really, really just sort of... It was obviously all the kings were in there as once Sarah Beth was in there. She knew obviously what was going on. They don't have a clue, the other three, though, because they would obviously fight for Christian if they found out. Alyssa even went on to tell Sarah Beth if she wins the veto, she will use it on her. And Derek X could probably just sit there and go, yeah, that's okay, I'm okay with you doing that, I'll just put another pawn up. And then boom, Alyssa just used the veto and Christian's up on the block. That would be one hell of a moment in Big Brother history. That would be something to witness. So, I mean, if Alyssa wins veto, I ain't complaining because she said she's going to use it, and then Christian will end up on the block, which will obviously create a lot of turmoil. It's not only the plan going through, or the badass plan that has been created that is actually going to happen. It's literally the person who they're in a showman's with is kind of sealing their fate whilst not having a clue they're doing that. That is Big Brother at its finest. Now, of course, with this house being an incredible cast and people playing left, right and centre, Tiffany has an ulterior motive. Of course she does, so let's talk about that. Tiffany, Hannah and Claire got together and they were sort of pushing this idea of maybe it's a better idea for Sarah Beth to leave this week and not Christian, because they realise and acknowledge that Sarah Beth is a strategical powerhouse, which she is, and Tiffany is tempted to go and tell Christian, listen, if you get picked to play the veto, win it, do not use it, discard the power of veto. And that would obviously throw a wrench in the works. Tiffany would then work the house to get the numbers and send Sarah Beth out the door. Now this is an interesting one because obviously Derek X and Hannah are like that, and Hannah is in on this Tiffany plan. The dynamics are literally all over the place. It's like a spider web, but just everything's intertwined, and what direction it's going to go in next, nobody has a clue. It is remarkable social dynamics to watch. This is just, it's so gratifying as a Big Brother fan to see people playing the game this hard and see, it's not just, let's do what the HOH wants, it's, do you know what, the HOH wants this, but do you know what, I want this, so I'm going to push this and not do what the HOH wants. I'm just very, very thankful to the players this season for that. Obviously, the veto hasn't been won yet. The players haven't even been decided yet, so that is obviously going to determine the next segment of the week, I guess, because as of now we can strategize all we want to theorize all we want about what's going to happen with the veto, but we're going to have a lot clearer picture when we find out who's actually playing in the veto ceremony, the veto competition, and who actually is going to win the veto to use it or not use it in the veto ceremony. Claire and Derek X, this is a kind of an important one I actually forgot to discuss before the nomination ceremony in the morning. Claire was basically talking through all the people that Xavier is tight with and always seems to be talking game with, and she went through every single member of the cookout and listed them and said those are the people that are working together. Even Hannah was mentioned as well, Derek X. It seems there's a little bit of weirdness with Hannah and Derek X this week. I don't think it's like nothing bad, but like what we were just discussing there, like about Hannah. Obviously, on a different side of the plan, she wants Sarah Beth out because obviously Sarah Beth was pushing Hannah last week, and Derek X is trying to get Christian out instead. I'm guessing Hannah wanted Derek X to push Sarah Beth, and it doesn't seem like the two of them are talking game a lot, or as much as you think they would when Derek X was in power. So anyway, back to that, the cookout. Derek X obviously wouldn't go tell Hannah anything about what Claire said. But I went on my Twitter yesterday and I tweeted this, and I said, listen, if anybody is going to crack the cookout, because they are looking to be the dominant alliance this season, if anybody's going to crack the cookout, it's going to be Claire. She is seriously onto them. She is good. She is really, really good at this game. She is unbelievably socially aware, and with her 2 weeks of safety right now to get her to jury, she can, I wouldn't say kick back, but she doesn't have to stress as much about her safety, but she can more so work her social game extremely hard, and that's what she's doing. And I'm just a huge round of applause for that. I just think she's working extremely well. And before the cookout starts to dominate, if anybody's going to put a dent in them, it's going to be Claire. So I mean, prepare for fireworks, folks, because just from talking about everything that we did on today's live feed update, it seems like the dynamics are just all over the damn place and nobody knows where it's going to go next. That is all of your live feed updates for today, folks. I thoroughly hope you all enjoyed watching. I really thoroughly enjoyed recording today's and talking about what's going on, because just the social dynamics are just mind-blowing. They are crazy, but this is Big Brother at its finest, as I've said multiple times throughout this video, and I truly mean it. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts in the comment section below on how you're feeling about this week so far. You're happy with Derek X as the head of household? Do you want Christian to be the backdoor planner? Do you want things to switch to Sarah Beth? Are you happy that Brittany's on the block as a pawn for another time? There's just so much to talk about, guys, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But I appreciate every single last one of you for coming to watch this video. It just means the world to me that you all give me support. I say that every day because I truly do mean it, folks. But I'll say, as I always do, make sure you're staying safe, staying positive, and staying healthy out there, and be kind to one another. But in the meantime, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. But until your next live feed update, I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.